Okay, this was lovely. I have one more thing that I would like for you to read.
Please.
This is a blessing at the end of one of the liturgies. And this is something that Audrey and I have written in just a handful of the liturgies. These are, there's a full liturgy that precedes this. So just so you know, in context, this is in the section for relationships. And there's a full liturgy preceding this, and there's a blessing at the end. So this is the blessing from a liturgy for loving someone who doesn't love you back.
Oh, wow.
Which is very
great.
I'll just let you.
So what should I know about the liturgy that precedes this blessing?
It precedes it. It basically is, I think, words to comfort someone, or like words that someone would hopefully want to like share with God, very honest words about the pain that you feel when you love someone who doesn't love you back.
And then the blessing is on the same.
And then the blessing is, and you'll see as you read it, but the blessing is actually directed to the person who has left your life.
Oh, wow.
And kind of like wanting to, I guess, change your own heart towards that person. If for some reason there was like bitterness towards them or a desire for harm, like this helps maybe in faith, like send this person off into the rest of their life with a blessing.
Right.
So this is a blessing over this person. And this is interesting. You asked me at the beginning, like, have you, like, did you write from experience? Do you write from non-experience? And actually at the time when I wrote this, I had never really experienced anything like this. So this was like very, like, I read a lot of poetry about unrequited love, like had a lot of good conversations. There's lots of poetry out there about that. And then wrote this just in faith, imagining like what it might feel like. And since then, I now know what it feels like. So, now it's like an interesting, dual like comparison. But I just think that this is something that a lot of people at some point in their life experience.
Right.
So wanted to write something like that for when people need it.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm glad that you had already written this.
Yes, me too.
Okay, thank you. Right. Excerpt from A Liturgy for Loving Someone Who Doesn't Love You Back. This is the blessing at the end of the liturgy. To the soul that I hoped would be mine, and to the hands that do not hold me the way I wish, to the current that draws you away from me, and to the path that I must continue down alone, to the life that awaits you, and to anyone who will accompany you in the future, to the years we will not share together, and to the lives we will never know, I bless you on your journey that will take you far from me. I release you without asking for answers, without needing the final word. I love you too deeply to wish you harm, and I leave you in the hands of God and others who will care for you in the ways I wish I could.
There you go.
Yeah.
A releasing. Which I think can be it's more for the reader, you know.
Yeah, well, it's not a very specific pain that I'm familiar with, but I do know the pain of wishing desperately that other people would sort of accommodate themselves to my life in a way that was necessary, and that horrible powerless neediness. And I'm grateful that I'm familiar with the requirement to look to myself and to think about how can I somehow find a way to let this go, let them go, let it be.
Yeah.
It's very much an acceptance, but it's such a generous acceptance.
Yeah, very generous. Very much a like letting go of control and like recognizing that you don't have control over another person's life.
No.
And that's a good thing.
How much do you remember the writing of, if not this particular one, then others? Like, how do you...
The writing process?
Remember going through writing this?
I remember for this one reading a lot of poetry for stuff. Like there were some that, came more naturally and I just would start writing and it would come. And this one I just read a lot of poetry and was just kind of putting myself in the shoes of someone who might be feeling lonely, who might be feeling brokenhearted, and thinking about how God is a very gentle and present in that brokenheartedness and cares. And I think that's something that a lot of people feel like, oh, this is silly. I shouldn't care. Like I shouldn't I shouldn't burden God with this. I shouldn't bother him. I should get over it. I shouldn't care this much. It's embarrassing.
Why do you think
feel
people
this.
feel like that?
To feel they're burdening God with their problems? I don't know. I feel like
who
it's...
else?
Exactly. Who else?
But why do
right?
why?
I think the thing is, maybe we feel like God only cares about holy things. He wants us to be better. He wants us to care about loving.
It's a bit disappointing
Yeah,
to be so ungrateful for the fact that someone's left you.
Exactly, yeah. And you're like, why is this what I care about? But it is.
Yeah.
And so I do think it's also kind of giving people permission to be honest about what they really feel and be honest about what's actually going on in their lives. And it's okay to pray about things like this, about heartache. It's not God cares about that. It's not unnecessary to him or not unholy or anything like that. Yeah.
It's so necessary to be reminded, I guess, of that obvious point.
Yeah, and to be honest about it. Yeah.
This is lovely.
Yeah.
So they don't all have a blessing at the end?
Not all. Mm-mm.
What makes some get that?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know that I've actually thought about that. I think some of them felt natural. There's clearly another person tied up in this process that the reader would be going through. So in this particular one, it felt natural that there needs to be a releasing that happens. There needs to be our paths are clearly going in separate directions. And it's important to acknowledge that and that there has been a connection and there now needs to not be. So a healthy kind of breaking of that tie and you moving on with your whole self in another direction and blessing their whole self to go in another direction and not grasping for parts of them or leaving parts of you behind, just moving on.
How do you envisage a reader using your book over time, or do they consume it all at once? Or how would you like it to land with them?
That's a good question. I do think probably not consumed all at once. Probably just picked up at a time when you're feeling a felt need or feeling an angst, an anxiety, or approaching a certain circumstance or whatever, and feeling I need to process this. I need to pray about this. I need words for this. And then picking up the table of contents and finding a liturgy that addresses that need or is close to that need, and then reading it slowly, probably multiple times. Pausing on the lines that feel more poignant, and maybe reading them over and over so they do kind of land and get stuck in their heart, to where later on down the road they might be able to call it to mind when they need to pray about it.
Do you think people will use it with reference to the people they know, not just as a personal, I need to do this for me, but maybe so-and-so would like to read this?
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's a good, absolutely too. Yes. If a friend is going through something and they're like, you need this liturgy here.
Right.
I'll take a picture of it. I do that with friends a lot too. If I read something that I think they would enjoy, I'll take a photo and text it to them. So I do think, it'd be as a good friend, if you read something that a friend is going through and sending it their way so that it might encourage them. Yeah.
And the thought of sending it is itself thinking of you.
Yeah, totally, like a gift, here. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay, and...
Shall I show you the next one?
Yes, the next one.
Now there's a word in here which
I'm not going to know it.
I didn't know how to... Well, it's kind of... I did know, sort of.
I'll do my best.
I just have to tell you that this word is schwa.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Schwa. I don't think I've ever seen it written down.
It's said the way it's spelled.
Yeah.
Schwa. But thank you. I would have been
this is another poem that is very upbeat, and it's meant to be upbeat about well not just the thing which is pictured beside it, but about the act of writing and of enjoying words. And
I love it already.
So there we are.
I'm gonna love this. I love the title. The title is Poetry. Oh God, you gave song to the birds and to us. You gave words, and how clever to give words. A pattern of sounds to help us remember. Praise the Lord, for he gave us rhyme, half rhyme, feminine rhyme, masculine rhyme, and many other kinds, not to mention alliteration and assonance. Did I say that right? Okay, cool. And give thanks for the schwa, the inglorious sound of a vowel that is thrown in the towel. I love that. We're going to have a good chat about this. The O in idiot, the U in the glorious, inglorious schwa. Writing a poem or psalm is exciting, not because of the thing, the poem, but because without knowing you find it in writing. It reveals itself as you go, like a statue to Michelangelo. I love the rhyme in here. And like it is very playful with alliteration, assonance, the schwa, which I don't know what that is. So I would love to start there. What is a schwa?
The schwa is the sound of an unstressed vowel, like the O in idiot.
Exactly. Okay.
It doesn't sound like an O. It's idiot. It's like
idiot.
this. So it's, and the U in So it's like this nothing. But it's also really useful. It's like, it serves its purpose. It fits in. It carries meaning.
Yes.
It's inglorious.
That's the word I was thinking of.
And
It's
I just
inglorious.
thought it deserves a name check.
It does.
In a poem about
the glorious,
poetry.
inglorious schwa. It has its moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I do think, like words are so playful and exciting, and they can do infinite amounts of things.
I really love using rhyme in. Many of the others have got more or different ways of using verse structures, and I do kind of find it mysteriously delightful that sometimes the rhyme takes you to the next bit of useful truth.
Yeah.
And looking around for the rhyme is like carving all the rock off the block of stone, and then suddenly, oh look, there's a statue.
Wow.
That was what I was thinking with that.
Yeah, that is so cool. I do love that process. You're just like chipping away at the statue that you kind of have an idea of what it might look like, but aren't really sure.
Yeah.
And the process of writing is like very revelatory. It reveals it to you as you're working.
It's very dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah, so dynamic, so exciting.
Because if you knew already what you were going to write, then you wouldn't bother writing it. So the process of the writing is this exciting journey of discovery.
Yeah. Have you always felt that as a writer or as a journalist?
Yeah. Well, as a journalist, I used to think I had no opinions on anything until I'd written about it. And I'd sort of write about it and find out what I thought. And go, oh yeah, now I know what I think about things.
Exactly. Are you familiar with the Flannery O'Connor quote? She says, I don't know what I think until I read what I write. I think that was Flannery O'Connor. Someone said that, and I definitely resonate with that. Like the thoughts are all a jumble in my head until I've written them down
and there's also something for me physically about handwriting that it just internalizes it. There's a little ballet of your hand that sort of it creates some kind of weird muscle memory that holds the whole thing there, and it's like I totally get it now because I handwrote it. Whereas if you're typing, the muscle movements are not the same.
Not the same.
You know how if you wrote the word angry and you did it in an angry mood, it would be all like dark marks.
Yes.
And if you wrote delightful, then that would be very different. So handwriting is just so different from
Yeah, exactly. You're like engaging with it in a tactile way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the same goes with drawing as well. You draw an angry picture. It looks like an angry picture. You draw a bird out. This one is the bird outside the window in the winter.
Yes.
And I just love fat London pigeons hanging around under the seeds, just looking really comic. They look like elderly Victorian gentlemen with their hands behind their back.
Oh my gosh, just waiting, just there.
Yeah.
Wow, observing.
And it's just funny to stand at the window and watch the pigeons, hoping that one of the smaller birds are going to drop some seeds, and that will do.
Wow, that will do. So the pigeon is waiting underneath the bird feeder, it looks like.
Yeah, being greedy.
Being greedy, like
it's too big and heavy to get on the bird feeder, but the smaller birds come and they
knock the feed down,
and the pigeon's wandering around with its hands behind its back,
just waiting to be fed.
Yeah.
Wow, it's very playful, very fun. I do love that. Like words are one of the many tools that we have to create, and they're just fun. I think we share that love for words and just using words as this means to communicate and create and explore and play.
Yes.
So
I'm really glad to have had the chance to read an advanced look at your Liturgies.
I'm so glad that you read it too. I loved reading your poetry and seeing your illustrations. I can't wait to read it in October when it comes out.
I can't wait to send
Buy it for all of my poetry enthusiast friends, of which there are many.
Great. I'll have to go through a copy and underline all the humdrum places like Cricklewood Lane and ask you to record them so I can hear an American accent.
Great, and then I'll send it back and be like, what is this? What does this mean? What are these things?
Yeah.
We'll send over
it sounds a lot more glamorous if it's an American accent.
It sounds glamorous in an American accent?
Yeah, it sounds like, wow, it's gone global.
Cricklewood Lane. Yeah. Is that what it was?
Cricklewood Lane, well remembered.
Great, so good.
Thank you.
So good. You're a lovely writer, very talented.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yay.